You sure you're okay?
Yeah, so you mean temperature-wise or light? Okay,
yeah. Are you are?
Yeah.
Because I could probably grab another fan or something like that really fast.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm happy to be in the Florida heat.
You are?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Childhood was in the north. And
really?
yeah, I just have like memories of shivering like at a bus
Whereabouts
stop.
in the north?
I was born on Long Island, New York. And
Oh my God, yeah. Pull that a little bit closer to you, please.
Even closer, yeah?
Yeah, even closer, yeah, a little bit closer. Grab that.
How
a little
close do you want me to get?
There you go. And
Really
then
that close?
Maybe move it up a little like that. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Feels very close.
Long Island, where on Long Island?
I was born in Massapequa.
Okay.
But then I grew up in part in upstate New York. And then when I was about 11, we moved to Florida. So I hold on to my northern roots and my work ethic and personality, but I'm happy to live in the South. Where are you from?
Well, it's complicated. I mean, I guess I'm Floridian, but my parents hail from Connecticut.
Okay,
and I've always despised being from Florida.
Really?
Yeah. And I connect more with my roots up north.
Yes.
My whole family's from up there. I have all my cousins.
So you're northern.
I'm northern,
yeah.
by heart, blood.
Yes, that's
I'm
how I feel.
100% by blood.
Yes.
But yeah,
my heart is
I grew up
northern.
in St. Pete, and then
that's nice there.
ended up over. I went to University of Florida. I moved back up there for like 10 years, and then came back about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So let me.
Well, yeah, it's a difference even in the weather from there to here.
To win the hearts and minds is a political art, not science. Melissa Martz knows it's time to find and build her alliance. Florida's 18th is about to have some competition at last, but it's going to be an uphill battle to surpass votes cast for Brian Mast. He's a combat vet who's lost his legs. Those are optics, tough to beat, but maybe a petite woman will defeat the incumbent, unseat. Let's weigh in. How will she be different on 2A? No more hearsay. She's applying for a well-paying job on the beltway. I don't mean to be cliche, but I pray she'll be a hard worker, or how else would she expect to be selected over a guy who said, "Don't let this rape become a murder"?
That was amazing. That was much better.
Tonight's guest is wife, mother, lawyer Melissa Martz, who's a congressional candidate running against incumbent Brian Mast in Florida's 18th district. And I'm happy to have her on tonight. Welcome to Bobby Pickles Podcast. That's me. Hello. Hi, Melissa. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm very happy to be here, and I very much enjoyed your introduction poetry.
You did?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about it? What on there? Is there anything wrong with that poetry, or is there anything right? Tell me about it. Is there any points I
think all of it was accurate, with the exception of the uphill battle. I think that is, I think everybody's feeling like an uphill battle at the moment. But my perception is that the victory is in the hands of the people, and we're just walking through the steps. So I actually have found that when I'm talking with the people of District 18, they're very much on the side of protecting our Constitution and freedom, and voting differently in a way that we're going to see those freedoms protected. So I think the people are there. It's not an uphill battle for the people. What we're up against really is the establishment, the political establishment.
And I just recently, my friend Buns was here earlier, and he told me that he's in your district, and that's out in Loxahatchee, like really far out in Loxahatchee. I didn't even realize that part of the district, and is back there as well. And yeah, you're right. I mean, those guys are really all about 2A and stuff. But not to say it's an uphill battle. I'm saying it's an incumbent. Incumbents are difficult to unseat. I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm not saying anything about your abilities and stuff like that. I know, but that's what I'm talking about. That it's Brian Mast. I mean, Brian Mast. He's known, right? He's known. He's like iconic. I feel like, with the walking around with the stilt legs and stuff. You have to admit that, right? As somebody who's going up against him, I think you can admit that he's a force to reckon with, kind of, right?
I think the force to be reckoned with is the establishment that supports him, not necessarily the man. I have an open invitation to debate, and I welcome that. So I don't have any intimidation in that regard. But I do agree. Clearly, he's been in that seat now. It would be a fourth term if he were to stay. So he clearly has name recognition. And yeah, you can't argue with that part of it.
No, you can't. That's what that's all I'm saying. I'm not, I just think that he was on 60 Minutes, and not trying to make this all about him. I want to make it all about you, So, but he's iconic in that way. And I feel like it's going to take a very strong character to unseat Mast. That's all. Just being realistic.
Yes. I think it should be strong character that gets anybody into office, but I don't think that's what we've been experiencing, and that's part of what we're trying to change, So it really has to be, I say, my campaign is very much a grassroots campaign, and it has to be the unity of the people coming together to really break this matrix where we have people that, career politicians, they live and die in their seats, and they kind of are just voted in again and again because they have that name recognition or they have the establishment money behind them. So, I think in this last year, a lot of people have been awoken to the fact that we can't kind of roll over on this anymore. We have to come together and we have to do what, many people are seeing as that would be impossible, right? But we don't have a choice at this point in history. We have to start breaking the matrix and getting real representation into our government. That
name recognition, though, it's like a business or something, like McDonald's or something. You build that up, you build up that brand. It is. Yeah, that's why they say it's very difficult to take down an incumbent, Yeah, that's right.
That is what disgusts me about politics. Kind of all the preconceived ideas I had before I decided to do this have only been greatly affirmed to me. Yes, it is like a brand. It is like a McDonald's, and that's disgusting. That's not what our founding documents had in mind when we were going to elect representatives in. It has become a business for many people. People are funded a lot of times, sometimes by dark money or special interest groups, and it literally has become, our government has become run like a business. So I don't disagree with any of that. I just, the ease that I see in breaking the mold is when I am just, tangibly charged by when I'm with a group of patriots and I can feel that changes in the air, and that it's not me standing by myself. It's me and the hundreds of thousands of patriots in this area that are ready to see exactly what we're talking about change.
It's what I call it is the inverted dictatorship. Everybody wants to say that Trump was a dictator, but it's really this inverted dictatorship where all of these Congress people, senators, where they have no term limits. And is it Congress that has no term limits? Senators do.
Correct. So I signed the term limits pledge. So did the incumbent. But now he would, is trying to go for a fourth term. So did he really mean that when he signed? That people will have to be the judge of that. But correct, at this time, there aren't term limits. I believe in term limits. I say, kick me out. Please kick me out. I actually had no aspirations to ever be a politician, let alone a career politician. I am truly running as a mother, I say, with a vested interest in the future of this nation. I had plans to have a second child when all of this started to happen in our world. I say I refuse to willingly bring another child in until I see some change in our country. So I want to go in, serve, do a good job, maybe usher in some other patriot and get out. I don't want to be there for term after term.
Well, that's admirable. Can we talk about you and your background a little bit?
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right, you practice law. Can you tell me about that? About well, first of all, you were like we were talking about before, about where you hail from. You hail from New York originally, is that right?
Yes, my roots are northern. I was born in Long Island. I spent some time in upstate New York, and then we moved to Florida when I was about 11. So by many people's standards, I'm a Floridian, by others not. But I say at heart, I'm northern, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I love Florida. Feel so blessed to live here. I say when you wake up and you have a bad day, you get to have it in Florida. You can go down to the beach and have your bad day. So I'm happy to be now a Floridian, though I wasn't born here. What do you think
about all of these people that are moving down here now? Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them because there is such tyranny. I mean, we have experienced tyranny and oppression here in what they are calling a free state. The rest of our nation is calling us free. And the reality is we really even haven't been so free. And yet to look around, it it's hard for me to mentally digest how bad it is in America in some places. So I don't blame them for wanting to come, but if you want different, you have to vote different. It's, becoming my mantra, especially in the district that I'm running in. If you want different, you have to vote different. So it's fine if you come here with the intention of keeping us a free state.
Yeah, but I don't know. I hope they have that intention. But I love it because all these interesting people are moving here finally,
Oh, didn't we not have interesting people before?
I don't know. Not that many. I mean, we're
a melting pot in South Florida.
Like I said, St. Petersburg, Tampa area. It's not really like a go-getter area like it is here. I feel like this area has more go-getters.
Okay.
People there, it's different. It's like more relaxed and stuff like that, slow. And it's just in that bubble. Tampa Bay area.
So I went to college and high school in Lakeland, Florida, Central Florida.
You did?
Yeah, kind of near there. And I would agree that it's slower, more family oriented, less city-like. Here, I think we definitely have more diversity.
So you know what I'm talking about. So like in Seminole, you can live anywhere in Seminole and then you have like a good school, Here, it's like one, then the next, then it's like one, like every other school is not the best. It's like maybe a C or
right.
A
if you're
D.
looking at the grades, yes.
Yeah,
I homeschool, so I have a.
If you're looking at the grades, yeah, it's crazy here,
yes.
right? Isn't it? It's like totally different than over there.
Oh well, actually, so I taught briefly. I taught high school biology. I worked very briefly at in Davenport at Ridge Community High School. I taught at a D-level school, and I lived in that area. So, but yes, I agree with what you're saying. We have more diversity where we are. I don't know what that influx of other states is going to bring us. I feel like we were a melting pot anyway. Most of us are transplants from the north. So I think it'll more be interesting on the political side because people were fleeing because they were getting what they had voted for in a lot of states. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of integrates with the rest of us.
Yeah. And we're about to see a lot of change, I think, over here. And everybody's buying up houses.
Yes.
Buying
good to
up
be
houses,
a realtor.
probably in your district, right?
A lot of, I don't know. I see a lot of for sale.
It's pretty sought after.
Yeah. I'm in Loxahatchee. I live in
You are?
Loxahatchee.
Okay.
We moved this year. It was perfect timing. But we were very blessed that we moved right as all of this was happening. So I don't think we got hijacked too much. But right now, I mean, it's insane. If we wanted to sell our house, yeah, we could probably sell it for way more than we paid because the market's just insane. So we'll have to watch that as well.
And for the people that don't know, Palm Beach County is so diverse. When you talk about diversity, you can go from living like a city life to living out in the country,
Yes.
You go from Palm Beach Island to, out in the Muck Bowl area. It's just such an antithesis of people here. You know?
I love that though. I think that's great. I mean, we need all different perspectives. That's what makes our country great, So, and I'm in a more rural agricultural area, which is what I wanted. But 15 minutes away is city life. So I love that. I love the integration of that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how'd you get into law? Where'd you go? What'd you do pre
Funny story. So I joke and say law school was my plan B. I was a struggling single mother.
Really?
Yes. And I did not want to put my baby who couldn't speak in a daycare where I wouldn't know what would have happened to him that day. So I had a very difficult time because I refused to leave him. And then also, many parents will be able to relate to this, single or not. The cost of putting your child somewhere while you go to work or go to school is so much that you break even at the end of the day. It's almost not worth it. So my 4-year degree in biology was not making the money I needed to be able to take care of my baby. So I applied for law school, and that is truly how I ended up going to law school. And I love law school, love the law. I was blessed to find and marry my husband while I was in law school. So by the time I got my degree, I didn't have this pressure to be the provider of my family. I could actually use my degree how I wanted to. And all the altruistic desires that I have and still have, I ended up taking the patent bar. So I am credentialed as a patent attorney.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did intellectual property.
Well, I briefly did some transactional work. It's not my passion. I could do it, but it's not really my passion. And I feel like in that area of law, you want like a mentor, you want somebody there with you because it is a difficult area of law if you're going to write patents. But anyhow, like I said, I wasn't beholden to that. So I ended up finding myself as an advocate against child sex trafficking. I'm an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and it's a topic that is near and dear to my heart, very, very important to me. And that's what I was doing and what I was focused on before all of this started to happen with COVID, where I have now developed this expression, which is, if I'm not free, I can't help others to be free. So all of a sudden, this like, dire problem of the government is stepping all over our basic human rights left and right. My focus shifted. I sued Palm Beach County. I have an update on that case if that's something you think your listeners would be interested in. But that case is still being litigated. So,
can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So, again, I am not a litigating attorney. It was just that I saw that the people needed somebody to stand up. And so myself with 3 other attorneys, we sued the Palm Beach County Board of Commissioners, who put out their mask mandate, not recommendation mandate.
That was you, huh?
Yes.
Causing all that commotion over there.
Yes. Well, I mean, we didn't do it, right? They did it. It was just a response to the rights being infringed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we asked the court for 2 things: injunction and declaratory relief.
Who else was a part of that as well? Was it
so
the guy?
Louis Leo, Joel Medjbow, and Corey Strolla. Those 3 attorneys.
Oh, Strolla.
Yes, came with me to sue. So thank you to all of them who are still working. And we have an appellate team as well, because now it's been appealed. So that's Jared and Elizabeth Beck, our appellate team. But anyhow, so the injunction, we lost at the trial level, we appealed, we lost at the appellate level, and now we are up to the Florida Supreme Court. This is in the 4th DCA. So in the first DCA, we just had a favorable decision come out. These mask mandate cases, they were like all over the state.
Isn't there an event like Wednesday for something like people are talking at the school board or something?
Yeah, that's the school board. So that's a separate issue.
But there is like a thing this week or something like that.
Yeah, no, I'll talk about that too, because I've been very involved with that as well. And people need to be.
I might be there.
Okay, cool. Yes, I will be there. There's
a lot of people there for that protest or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, the 1:30. I think it's 1 or 1:30. Yeah. I'll be there for that as well.
Nice.
But so we had this, because these mask mandates have come all over the nation, all over Florida. Everybody's been suing. Many attorneys dropped their cases at the trial level when they lost, instead of, continuing to fight. There's all different reasons why people do that. But in the first DCA, they had a favorable decision in the appellate court. And now we have a conflict in the law, because we have 2 appellate districts that are in conflict with one another, where one says it was presumptively unconstitutional and the other says no, it wasn't. So, it basically makes it very, very difficult now for our Florida Supreme Court not to take the case and rule on it. That ruling was very, very, very good for the position of our case. So I have always been exceedingly optimistic. It's one of, either, I don't know if you consider it a flaw
so a school,
or strength, but
a school does not have the right, like a business, to mandate it.
Okay, so this was against the mandate from the Board of Commissioners. So the school is saying that they don't fall under the governor's executive order, which is not accurate. That's not accurate. They're wrong. It's tyranny. I mean, it's just a blatant abuse of power. If and when our Supreme Court, Florida Supreme Court, decides that this mandate was unconstitutional, it should absolutely set precedent over that school policy as well, because they're a government entity, which, I mean, it is unconstitutional. It is insulting as an intelligent person and an attorney to have litigated this case. I mean, it is not difficult to look at the law and see that the government can absolutely not mandate adults or children to cover up their breathing holes for any, reason. So it will be favorable for the schools, as the school board as well, the people that are fighting the school board, the parents that are fighting the school board. But the parents need to fight now, because where this is going is really egregious. They said I think it was 2 meetings ago, I was at the meeting, and they made the comment that they want to be giving vaccinations on site at the schools. And we know in Broward that a child is now allowed to be vaccinated just with a piece of paper that says that the parent consented. The parent doesn't have to be present. So if people are concerned,
God, tread lightly and talking about this. God,
yeah,
so
sorry,
crazy.
I'm sorry.
No, I know.
I can use
YouTube is insane.
a code word. Sorry, I've been
YouTube is
banned.
insane when it comes to this.
Well, some people call it the Maxine.
Yeah. Oh,
so our friend
Maxine.
Our friend Maxine. I am not an anti play with your friend Maxine. I am pro freedom and pro choice and pro parental rights. So if people
all I know is this: I was reading Twitter this morning, and there was a kid, 14 years old, talking about, there was a lady talking about her nephew who passed away, 14 years old, inflammation in the heart, and talking about how this is like happening a lot of. Yep. I don't want to but that's so crazy. Why can't we have free speech? Why are we not allowed to talk about this? Well, why are we not allowed to have a debate?
That's why we need to
discuss things. I mean, it's so crazy that we're. Did you ever think that we were ever going to be in this kind of situation in this country?
Nope.
Right?
I was somebody that also had my head in the sand. I was not. People say I'm not a politics person. I'm like, I'm not either, but we all don't have the luxury of not being a politics person anymore. The censorship is out of control. I mean, we are on the brink of losing America as we know it, which is why it's so important that we protect our Second Amendment right, because it's the last thing that kind of keeps us from being like every other country, or communist country, a socialist country. I mean, once we cannot bear arms to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, they get away with all of it. It's kind of like it's the nail in the coffin. So that's why it's so important. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I really believe that we're at a precipice. We're going one way or the other. There's no gray area in this anymore. You're either, for America and the Constitution and everything that it stands for. It's kind of weird that would be a platform, right? That part of my platform is a return to the protection of the Constitution. Oh, and by the way, stop sexually abusing children, pedophilia promotion by the incumbent. And you mentioned in your poem some of those statements. We have to have a zero tolerance policy.
So that was I guess he says it's a joke. It was a message between him and a buddy on Facebook.
His campaign manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a public forum, and
public forum.
Yes, it
was on a public forum.
Yes.
Oh, it wasn't in a private message.
No.
I didn't realize that.
Sun Sentinel has an article, and this was all highly publicized. If you just Google the incumbent's name and Sun Sentinel, it has a screenshot of these public comments. So people have to decide. I'm not a cancel culture person, but we've got to have some deal breakers. And I say our Constitution is one of them, and pedophilia promotion and pedophilia is another. So people have to do the research and decide for themselves, but it is very much a part of my platform to put an end to sexual exploitation of children, and specifically trafficking. Our borders, it's a crisis. It's an absolute crisis at this moment in time. We have President Trump going down to the border. Our own governor is sending reinforcement to Texas. It's disgusting. I mean, if people read any of the reporting that's coming out of there, children are being abused. It's why in my opinion, the borders were let open. So this is so crazy, but how ridiculous some of these Democrats are, where you say, like, if you voted for Biden, you owe me gas money. And then they think that there's no correlation between the person who's the president and, what we pay for a barrel of oil, or the fact that, we're having a problem right now on the border like that. It's all a direct reflection of the policies put in place by Biden when he came in. And I don't know if you saw, this people can Google this. There was a Fox article. I can't remember the other news source. They did a video, but at the direction of the White House, there were 4 planes of migrant children that were planed in from the border into Tennessee, and they were deplaned onto private charter buses in the middle of the night from about 1:30 to 3 in the morning. So yeah, you could just do a little research and see these orders come from the top. It is direct, and even just a little common sense will tell you that. I mean, if you bought gas over the last several years, you would notice a difference. Yes, of course.
And then through that border, though, child sex trafficking is happening too. That's part of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if people will read, it's mostly, however people feel about Fox. I don't have an opinion necessarily one way or the other, but I think all mainstream is kind of puppeted from behind the scenes. But they seem to report the most on the stories of what's coming out of there. And yes, it's just terrible stories of like, a young girl that wasn't able to speak because she had just been gang raped at the border. So, these are the kind of things that are happening there. And it's mostly minor children. I mean, come on, these are 4 planefuls of unaccompanied minor children being planed in. And then, people have to use a little common sense.
It could be maybe, for the elites to make adrenochrome. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have heard of it. I have an undergrad in biology. So when I first...
oh my God. Can you tell me about adrenochrome?
Yeah. I can tell you just from my own research. So when I heard that and that sounded such an outlandish claim to me, I was like, is this real? Is this even, because let's start there. That word is like a trigger word, like a buzzword, is it even real? And it is real. So it is plausible, that people could be harvesting it for some purpose. I have no direct evidence of that, but what we do have direct evidence of. But
scientifically, it is possible.
It is a chemical component. It's not a made up thing. But what we do have direct evidence of is that children are being sexually abused and trafficked via our open borders. And so that's why I think it's so wonderful that President Trump is making his way to the border, that our governor is making his way. It should be absolutely embarrassing to Mr. Biden what's happening, but I'm just glad that somebody is going to address it, because when you start to focus on that, if you watch the videos, I would like to go myself at some point, but it's heartbreaking, and it could be prevented. At least our country, we can make it so it doesn't happen in our country. So
were you a Trumper?
When I voted for Trump twice. The first time I was not. I really was.
Really?
I was really ignorant.
The first time?
The first time I voted for him more out of my intuition. So I think anybody that's experienced abuse or child abuse can relate to kind of pushing away that little voice on the inside, and you learn in healing to trust that little voice. So when I voted, I would always vote my conscience. I was registered third party for a while. So just, to be clear, I really always voted my conscience. And then when this election came around with Hillary and Trump, there was something intuitive in my gut that I just felt. I felt kind of like an evil, to be honest, coming. Like I felt like evil vibes, and I could not substantiate this. I was ignorant. I hadn't done my research. It's not like I really knew anything. Like, people really demonize the Clintons, and they have all these like horrific stories. I didn't have any of that.
The Clinton body count.
Exactly. And I didn't have any of that in my knowledge base. It was really all intuitive. So I voted for him, for that reason. And then it was the unfolding of his leadership that I started to do the research, and I started to connect the dots and realize that really he's an American hero, and what he's done for victims of trafficking and our nation in general is just unprecedented. It's amazing. It deserves a lot of kudos. He has inspired people like me to run because he was not a part of the establishment, and he was able to overcome that uphill battle you were talking about. And so I believe that he is the beacon of light for change. And I think we have to watch really closely the uncovering of this election fraud, which is really uncovered. But now, we just need...
It's really uncovered, do you think?
Well, I'm saying in my personal opinion...
They're finding stuff in Arizona, right?
Arizona, but even before that, if you look at what like Sidney Powell puts out, if you listen to the testimonies, I've listened to the testimonies of the poll workers. I think it's very obvious that we have experienced election fraud. But I'm saying keep an eye, because I don't think it's over. I don't think we have to necessarily wait till 2024 for there to be some justice. So
really?
I still reserve a lot of hope. Yeah, it's wrong. It's wrong. You can't steal.
I agree with this. I agree it's wrong, but I think that, that's, wow. I would love
without consequence. How can you steal an election without consequence?
But I just have no hope at all because of the inverted dictatorship, like we were talking about.
No, have hope, because look, if I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be running. It's the biggest reason that I didn't want to run, because I thought, well, I could do all of this work, spend all of this time, and it could be stolen from me anyway, because we have a corrupt system, and it's just a click of a button, and they'll steal the election from me like they did our president. I have a lot of hope. I do believe what's in darkness always comes into the light. The truth will come out. And I personally I've started to go to the supervisor of elections in each county in the district to have a conversation about how we can make sure that our votes in those counties count. And I've already started to do that. So I'm doing everything I can as a congressional candidate to make sure that in District 18, when you go to vote, your vote really does count. And we all need to do that. We all have to take responsibility.
South Florida is riddled with, craziness. Political, it's insane. And what I've seen, from that, if you remember, like we had the problems with the voting in 2018 and stuff like that. And Brenda Sykes, I think her name is, down in Fort Lauderdale. There's just so much. I mean, think about the Chads, the hanging Chads back in George W. Bush and stuff. I mean, South Florida is crazy when it comes to politics. This area in general.
Well, I'm learning that.
From West Palm down to Miami.
I'm learning that.
This is where all of the stuff happens right here, basically, Yeah,
I'm learning that. I, again, had ideas about corruption. I assumed that we had some level of corruption in politics. And just since deciding to do this roughly 2 months ago, it has been confirmed to me that it's much deeper and greater than I even really thought. Mm-hmm. But that's where, to me, when things seem the bleakest, that's when we need to have the most faith. And again, when you feel the charge of the unity of the people, because people are understanding now what you and I are saying, whereas before maybe just a few people understood. I mean, it's like, they've awoken a beast in the people. Like we're not going to take it. We can't. If we go through to a next election and we don't address this issue, I mean, we do not have America. If we don't have free and fair election, we don't have our country. So it's going to get resolved one way or the other.
That is what Trump did, though, right? Trump awakened people.
Yes.
And people to get into politics normally wouldn't have.
Yes.
Do you know what populism is?
No. What do you mean?
Populism? It's just like a form of politics. If you look behind you, there's a mural, and that guy is Huey Long. And he was a Democrat, but he was a populist. Populist is just appealing to the people.
Sure.
That was Trump. Trump was a populist.
Okay.
And he was the best populist. I learned about populism in University of Florida. That's when I learned about Huey Long in speech writing class. And we were talking about all the different, all these different great orators and stuff.
Well,
and so obviously a lot of dictator-esque people are great orators. They just are. They're charismatic. Like Hitler.
Well, I don't know if I would agree then with that he was a populist. Although I think he did appeal to a lot of people. I think it's more. I think it's deeper than that.
It's definitely populism. It's right-wing populism. It happens on both sides. It happens on the left and the right. But it's
Well, that's your opinion, and I respect that. But the way that you're defining that, I would say in part that's true. Obviously,
he's a reality star. He's appealing to the people. He was able to capture all these people that normally probably wouldn't even be into politics. All these people that grew up with him in movies and knowing about him. Well, that's what really started. And then the way that he speaks to people, where he has all these.
Grab her by the pussy. Is that how he was speaking to them?
Well, yeah.
I think that debunks that theory right there. No, I disagree with that. But you were
turned off by that, obviously.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't? No?
No, because if you listen to what he said, there was consent and they were adults. What I have a problem is when people start talking about little kids like Brian Mast. So no, it did not offend me. But I'm just saying, the way you're defining populism, I don't agree that that's what Trump's appeal was. And it certainly wasn't for me. And I can only speak from a very from my own experience. Like I said, I didn't vote for him because of any of that. In fact, that would have more been a turnoff. I think it was a turnoff to a lot of people. Like, oh, he's just a reality star. He doesn't know what he's doing. For me, it was the hard facts. It was the executive orders that he was putting out. It was what he was doing for the people. And again, specifically sex trafficked victims. So I think that also he has appealed to in people. If he's appealed to anything, it's been to our patriotism and our Constitution and our individual rights, and to put the power back in the hands of the people. So I think if he spoke to the people,
that's populism.
Well, it should be our Constitution, because you can be well liked and you can appeal to people because you're charismatic, but that's different than getting them to buy into a dogma.
But populism isn't a bad word, just so you know. It's a good word.
Well, I don't think it is a good or I don't subscribe to good or bad either.
It could be on the left. It could be on the right. It could be there are populists that are bad.
You're saying you don't mean it in a negative way.
That became negative. That are negative. Like it could happen. That's why everybody calls him Hitler and stuff like that. It's just ignorance. It's ignorance on the left. I know.
I haven't heard that one. That's crazy. But because
you
I don't know, that's
heard
crazy.
That liberals say that?
No. But I also don't. I'm probably not hanging around too many liberals.
But that seemed like to me. I
do hang around some, but
that
not
was
too
like
many.
that's. I mean, you don't think that's thrown around all the time? That word's thrown around a lot, like right now.
I have not personally heard him called Hitler. In fact, I do a lot of calling other people Nazis in our government at the moment, like the school board. I did call them Nazis the last time I was up there. Mm-hmm. So, but I hadn't heard that people were calling him that. I mean, that just seems crazy to me. But no, I didn't mean to imply that you were using it in a negative way. I'm just saying I think it's something more than being popular and people liking him because of a charismatic air that he gives off. Because for me, it wasn't. For me, it really was the hardline facts of what he was doing. And again, a return to our Constitution and our individual rights.
I'll say one thing to your point about him. You having like an intuition. I had an intuition with him too. I can just tell that there's something about him that he's good. He's genuine.
Yeah, why can't we say that?
That's what I feel.
And why can't we say that?
That's why, and that is why I swear that is why I actually voted for him. It was because my intuition, my instinct, whatever you want to call it, I was like, this guy's genuine. He's not a part of the establishment. He's anti-establishment, And it's like more of that punk rock thing kind of thing. That's like the background that I came out of. And it's like, I just don't understand how liberals, who are like a lot of punk rock people, are liberals.
Okay.
And how they want the largest government. It makes no sense. When a lot of punk rock was about anarchy. Anarchy would be no government.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense anyway. But okay, talking about Maxine really quick.
Yes.
All right. So, but Trump brought Maxine into this whole thing.
Yes, he did.
Isn't that confusing? Because I'm a forever Trumper and I love Trump.
Okay. Even if he injects the vaccine into little babies, you're still going to love him.
But what if there was something nefarious to the whole thing, and it was like the 3D chess, just to get people that are like contrarians like us, people that think like us or whatever, to get us on board?
Right. I'm not on board because I'm a free thinker. What if even Trump couldn't get me to take
I know, but doesn't that
something I didn't want
doesn't that kind of start making you second guess stuff a little bit? I mean,
no, because let me just say again, I don't second guess my own intuition, right? So when it comes to a medical decision, now, this is a very personal medical decision, but I'm illustrating for the purpose of this conversation. So when it comes to that decision for me, I don't care. I haven't put my faith into a president, right? So for that decision is separate from whatever information is coming from anywhere else, be it my doctor, I take everything with a grain of salt. My leader, I take everything with a grain of salt. But ultimately, I have to decide on the inside with my own intuition if that's right decision for me or not. So I could care less that he would advise or not advise people to take the vaccine or the fact that he ushered it in. Where I would have a problem is if he mandated it because it's unconstitutional. And I did notice on his last interview with Sean Hannity that he very much made a point to say this is not something that should be given to children. We need to look at that again because people may or may not know that this is an experimental vaccine.
I know.
It's experimental. It's approved for emergency use only. So if adults want to make that decision, that's one thing. And then he says when it comes to kids, that's another. And I would hearken that. I feel that way. As an adult, make that decision all day long. When it comes to our kids, we have to protect our kids at all costs. And I think the facts are bearing that out. The story you just shared about the young man. I mean, that's been all over the news. So people have to decide what's best for their families when it comes to that. They cannot look to government for medical advice. That's the problem. So it doesn't bother me that, he has his own opinion. It would bother me if he was pushing it on people, forcing it on people, mandating it. That's not the role of government. They're not our doctor.
No. So what about the protests on Wednesday? What is behind that?
Okay. So, well, there's a myriad of issues to be covered. Mm-hmm. I have been petitioning that the children go unmasked because, in my opinion, it's child abuse. It meets the statutory definition of child abuse. We have a big push from the parents in our county. They've been going to these meetings. They've been writing letters. They've been speaking to the news. And they've been scheduling these protests at the meetings. So now we have a meeting coming up. It's a workshop and a school board meeting, and people will be protesting outside. If people want to speak, they have to sign up, I think a day or two before. So if people want to sign up, they should sign up now. And show up even if it's just for a little bit, because we are super powerful in numbers. And part of what has been done to us over this last year is to keep us separated and isolated. And when we come together, there's really power in that. So I would encourage people, if they have some time to spare, even drive by and give a honk or hold a sign for a few minutes. It makes a difference. The pressure is on, and these are our children. My child I took out of school last year. I homeschool now. I don't have a child in the system. I'm fighting for the next generation, for other people's kids. So you don't necessarily have to have kids in the system to speak up. I mean, this is very objectively, it is child abuse, and it's not just the masks that they're speaking out against. They're also speaking out against critical race theory, which is not a role of the government, right? This is not a role in education. So however you feel about it, you get to feel however you want to feel about it. It's just not under the role of government to be teaching that to our children. They should stick to reading, writing, and arithmetic.
What exactly is critical race theory?
Oh my gosh. Well, I thought I knew. I had the idea that I should. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I had the idea that I should be outraged, but I had never really seen it for myself. I had just kind of heard about it like everybody else, and then I listened to a presentation from freedomworks.org, which I don't know if you're familiar with that organization. They're a great organization. For anybody that thinks that they want to run for school board, or if you want to learn more about critical race theory, there you go. But I listened to their presentation, and they actually had put up on the screen lessons, like from a lesson plan of critical race theory, and basically what it does is it teaches that if you're white, you're bad, you're not good. And they have, like, in this one lesson plan, they had divided all the different types of white, and they were all like derogatory, like types of
all the
white.
Types of white.
Yeah. Like,
what are all the types of white?
White supremacist, and then so on and so forth. And none of them were good. They were all negative. And you had to divide yourself in the classroom based off of your skin color. And then if you were white, you had to pick out which kind of white you were. And basically, it's all centered around your race and the color of your skin. And then you're kind of indoctrinated accordingly to not feel so good about yourself, either because you're white and you suck and you should feel bad about yourself, or you have darker skin and because that white kid next to you made things hard for you, like you're not good enough and you have to fight and work harder. So, I mean, all around, it's not good for anyone, in my opinion. Now, again, if people want to teach that to their kids, they can teach it to their kids all day long. It's just not the role of the government. The
idea of white is so complicated, in my opinion.
I know. Don't even get me started. I know. It's not.
Italians,
I know. I'm a little Italian, Jewish, and German.
White, Yeah. It's like, I feel like it's the greatest white lie ever told. They came over here, they're like, oh, we got to be white? Oh, we're white. Okay.
Yes. No.
It is kind of, they're very swarthy, darker people, almost like Latin people. And they came over here and there's like, engraved themselves in the culture.
I didn't get the dark.
Well, the southern,
Yeah, whatever
Naples,
part I hailed from.
Sicily and stuff. It's a complicated thing. I mean, Spain's like technically white, right? I mean, they're Europeans.
They're European, right?
It's just so weird. People
Portuguese as well.
People move from Europe, and then they moved to Argentina. The most Italians actually settled in Argentina, not New York. The most Italians who left Italy went to Argentina, and then they just became Latin. And they have a whole, like, that culture, that Argentinian culture is totally crazy. Yeah, just steak and wine. That's what they have.
Okay. That doesn't sound terrible.
No, it's not terrible. But the whole idea of white is just I think it's more complicated than we say it is, And
the idea of race is more complicated.
Exactly. I think African Americans
are
African mutts. That's all they are. They're from all these different countries all in Africa, and mutts, and they have white in them too. They have milky skin. Like, they have trace amounts of, you ever watch PBS? The Finding Your Roots with
No, I don't watch
Louis Gates or whatever, Jr. That guy, he does these. He'll do like a DNA test on all these different people, and he did a lot of them when the show started. It was on all different African Americans, prominent African Americans, and every single person has white in them. everybody. They have like at least 25%.
Then we should all hate ourselves, I guess, according to critical race theory. But the point is that it's an arbitrary thing to be judging each other on and to be teaching on in our classrooms. I mean, you know, at the kind of quintessential phrase of Dr. Martin Luther King being judged by your character, not your skin color. It's the whole reason, because we have abandoned that line of thought. I mean, it's really why we're in the mess that we're in with the people we voted into government. If we were really, as a culture, as a people, more concerned with people's actions and their character, you know, the shift would be unbelievable. You know, instead we have been enamored with appearance and what things look like and how things are presented and the color of people's skin. And it's like, you know, it's really more important the way that we treat each other. And does somebody tell the truth? How does somebody treat children? Does somebody do what they said that they were going to do? You know, I mean, these are the values that I want to instill in my child, you know, but I say, what was wrong with the golden rule? You know, I mean, that just covers everything, right? Like, we grew up learning the golden rule, and then we learned reading, writing, and arithmetic.
What's that? Be nice to people?
Treat others how you want to be treated. That's it.
That's it. I know. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay. So, did you support Mast on his first run?
No, I really didn't have a knowledge of him. I wasn't near him. Where I lived wasn't near him. I really didn't have a knowledge base. When I decided to run, the main reason that I decided to run in 18 really was because of those pedophilia promoting comments. I saw that district as one that I could make the most of a difference in than anywhere else. So, but prior to that, I had really no knowledge base of his shenanigans.
And so do you feel that your 2A, the big thing is like the 2A stance, right? Like, everybody's talking about that. Are you part of the REC by any chance?
I'm not allowed because I was third party for too long. So I have to wait a certain amount of time before they let me be. I'm allowed to go as a congressional candidate, but I'm not allowed to join for a while. Okay. But yes, I'm happy to be, when they let me, I'm happy to be a part.
So how does your stance on 2A differ from Brian Mast's? Everybody's talking about Brian Mast, and he's weak on 2A, supposedly. That's what I've heard.
Correct. He's got failing grades.
He's got failing grades with the NRA.
NRA, Heritage, all the important ones.
How is your stance different?
So I just believe in our Second Amendment. I believe our Second Amendment says shall not infringe. I think that it's really clear that when the Second Amendment was penned, it wasn't penned so that we had our firearms to fight against home invasion and rape, although I have pulled my firearm on a home invader, so I'm glad that I can carry that way. But it was actually penned in the event that we need to pick up weaponry against a rogue and tyrannical government. Well, to do that, we would need to have similar weaponry. So, I support our Second Amendment.
You actually had to do that? I had a home invader too.
Yes.
I didn't have guns in the house though. I had to get out on my own wits.
Really? And so are you not, are you not a proponent of 2A, or you just didn't have one?
No, I mean, it's a long story. Okay. I'll go ahead and say it, but
you lost your gun?
I've said it a million times. But no, when I was 18 years old, I was arrested for a non-violent, non-sexual, drug-unrelated crime. Okay. Basically, a girl I was going out with forged her mom's check, and I went and cashed it. And it was for almost $1,000. It was like $900. And so I got grand theft when I was like 18, just 3 months after 18. And, I was junior, I was like just like a juvenile delinquent kind of thing. Like, went to Catholic school. I didn't want to go to Catholic school, just fighting against it, Anyway, I'm not happy about it, but
your brain was still forming,
it was
to
so
be fair.
long ago. I'm 41, and the fact that I have to still answer to this is pretty crazy. Yes. I have nothing else on my record except for this one thing, one stupid thing from when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
So, but it's just, and it looks bad because it says grand theft, but it's really stupid, like a stupid thing I did. I didn't even steal the check or anything. I just went in there and cashed a fraudulent check that somebody else forged.
Wow.
And
but now how did you?
My parents wanted to teach me a lesson, so they got me a public defender, and then the public defender did not tell me that if I plead no contest, that I can never have it expunged. So I went to college, I was a dropout of college. Wow. Went and got my GED, did everything, and then eventually got back and graduated from University of Florida.
Congratulations.
Like, took the long way, but then got out.
I took a long way too.
Yeah. But then I wanted to go and get it expunged, and all of a sudden I saw that. And I didn't really realize it at the time, I just kind of did whatever the public defender told me to do. And so now I'm in this situation. The only way that I can get it off my record is to get a pardon by the governor.
Oh, well, he's giving those out. So
yeah,
just for the mask mandate stuff.
I know some people. I know some people.
Okay, it could happen.
Maybe I can. I really have somebody in my corner really said I should make that a goal to get rid of that this year.
Well, or maybe even to do some advocacy around, I know you had just hit 18, but, we've really criminalized juveniles. It's unbelievable how they can exactly what you're describing, but even younger. I mean, they can be given rap sheets, and it's really, that is a whole other topic, unrelated, whatever. But I don't know how familiar you are with that, but that might be something to look into and to do some advocacy work and turn that lemon into lemonade, because that happens.
I would love to.
Yeah, it happens.
It disenfranchises voters. It does.
Oh.
I mean, it does. Things like that, nonviolent crimes, disenfranchise voters. It's kind of like a liberal thing, but I see it from that perspective because I've been through it.
Right.
Even though I definitely lean right.
Well, that's just like with cannabis. We've come a far way with that too, but the same thing where, basically people are put in jail, or that's used to kind of get them started with a rap sheet. Something that really shouldn't have been charged to begin with. So
that's true.
Yep, that's another way to shed some light on that.
Yeah. Do you think that your 2A stance might change or shift along the way if you get in and become elected? The way that when you become exposed to more people and situations, like similar to Mast, how he kind of.
The way he flip-flopped.
I think he started out really strong and then kind of just shifted a little bit,
Well, yeah, shifted a little bit. He wrote a New York Times article saying none of us should have AR-15s and came really hard against our Second Amendment rights. So pretty big shift. But
why do you think he did that?
Well, it's been speculated that whoever his financial backers are.
Do they own him now? Is that what happened?
I think that's what happens.
He's bought and paid for now?
Most people. Unfortunately.
Do you think okay, be serious with me. You get in there right now. You think that you're going to be impervious to that kind of thing? Yeah.
So let me tell you a story. So I get asked this question a lot, and I'm going to be really candid and honest with you about who I am. So the question really is, are you going to be able to stand up against corruption?
Can anybody?
Yeah. Can anybody? So when I was a toddler, I was sexually abused by my biological father, who was NYPD. So he worked for NYPD, had a uniform. I must have been maybe somewhere between 4 and 5 years old when he put me in the back of a cop car, drove me to his other cop buddies. Maybe 4 or 5 of them I can remember. This, I have a memory of them all standing there in uniform, telling me to tell the judge, because I had to go before a judge, that he didn't do what I said that he did. And I said no, because my mother taught me to tell the truth, and I'm going to tell the truth. That is my character and my constitution from the time I'm very young. I side very strongly with the truth. I have a strong conviction for the truth. I cannot be bought and paid for. I don't need it. Thank you, God, I have a very nice life and a beautiful family. I could just roll over and die and not do any of this, but I'm raising a human in this American culture, and this cannot be the America that I leave for my child. I am not beholden to anything but to do the right thing and to uphold our Constitution, and I would sooner quit. So if it looked like I wasn't going to be able to get my job done, I would just quit, and I would be very candid about that with the people that I was representing about the corruption. Mm-hmm. I'm also a grassroots campaign. Nobody is taking a salary for my campaign.
Really?
I'm not. Oh, yeah. No, this is totally, I'm a patriot at this point. I love my country. And like I said, it's really about the next generation, because many of us could kind of turn a blind eye and maybe fare okay for our remaining days here on this planet. But, it's the next generation that we're fighting for.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe in God?
Yes, I believe in God. So my background, for maybe that people would want to know, I have a 4-year degree in biology. I went to Bible college. I went to an Assemblies of God college.
Really?
Yes, I grew up with both faiths. My mother, and as my stepfather, but I call him my father. My stepfather is Jewish, like traditional American Jew, and my mother was Catholic, and then we just went everywhere. We went to Messianic synagogue. I went to an AG college, like I said. I have a minor in religion, so I've had a nice exposure.
So you learned about the Messianic stuff too.
Yes. Yeah,
I wasn't exposed to that really until I moved down here, and then I saw it. My cousin's into that.
Okay. I mean, I don't go anymore. I just saying at one point I did. So I've had a nice
it's a weird
exposure.
spot, like where it blends, where I feel like the Messianic religion happens in these places where it's like heavily Jewish Christian, and they blend together. They have these little sects that are both kind of. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it kind of boils down to one basic difference, which is some people believe Messiah is coming. Some people believe Messiah came. Others are waiting for a second coming. I'm not really I say I'm not a religious person. I believe in relationship, meaning your relationship to higher power, spirit, God, That's
source,
why I just say God as in, it could be any God.
However you fill in that
I think it's all the same thing, but it's just, the religion is just like a translation for your culture. However, but I think we're all thinking about the same person.
Yes, and some people, it serves them. It serves them to, whatever religious steps they go through or practices they go through that serve some people. And I say that is the beauty of our country, that we're able to endorse all those different practices without judgment and without infringement.
Absolutely. Look at this. What did you bring me? Oh my God, what is this right here?
I've become a farmer. Part of my American dream was to have a little bit of land so I could have chickens.
What's that? Mango?
That's a mango. We have fruit trees where I live. So you have mango and banana. I have more fruit trees than just that, but that's what I could bring you today.
And then
eggs from
eggs.
Those are pasture raised, free range, organic. You can leave them out on your counter for like 6 months. You don't have to put them in the fridge, and they're fine.
Really?
Yeah, there's a natural coating on the egg. And even our store-bought eggs where they wipe off the coating.
They wipe off the coating?
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
Well, because the chickens, like, stuff gets on them, like dirt and shit and stuff. So, sorry.
It's fine. I'll bleep it. You want me to bleep that?
So sorry.
I can totally bleep that when I post it. It's fine.
Well, that's what it is. That's what's on there. So my point is, you can wash them off before you use them, or you can wash them off and stick them in the fridge, but they are fine out on the counter for like months at a time.
Do you think congressional candidates shouldn't say shit?
No, or I would have censored myself better.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be real. It's all about being real. But, I guess the last thing I wanted to talk to you, I know it's very hot.
No, it's okay. I was blushing.
The last thing would be about the Florida water issue.
Yes, this
I wanted to talk to you about that because I really don't understand it.
Sure.
All I know is this: we have the worst pizza in the entire country, and there's a reason for it. Yeah. I believe it has to do with pesticide runoff and stuff. I don't know if you realize this, but they basically chemically, the runoff from pesticides is like chemically fluoride, and they're legally allowed to dump this in drinking water. Do you know that?
I know that
it's pretty crazy.
Fluoride in our drinking water. I have a well, but I'm aware that you can get your water tested, and there's fluoride in it.
This is the biggest proponent for forgot what it's called for what is it? Oh, phosphate mining. And when they mine for phosphate in the state of Florida, we are the largest phosphate manufacturers or whatever in the whole country. Okay. And that runoff that comes from that is fluoride, chemically fluoride. And they are allowed to dump it in the drinking water. They actually are legally allowed to. You're saying this is a standard that comes from the EPA? This happens. This is a standard that happens here in Florida. I think it's connected to that, to be honest with you. I think that's why we have the worst water. Well, I don't know that I can speak to what makes our water taste gross. Look more into that. Look more into that. I know that Oh no, I've looked into the water issue. I mean, this is what I'll say about it that I think is, it's confusing. So if I'm saying some stuff that you don't I'll share what I know, and I think it is important for people to fact check and research this particular issue because it has been highly, highly, highly politicized, especially in District 18. I have begun to do my due diligence in speaking mostly with our federal agencies and in the works of speaking with our state agencies on the water issue. On the water issue, there's two, and I'm really oversimplifying this just to get the nugget of information out, but there are really two issues. And one is the redirecting the flow of the water, like the releases, and fixing
our initial correction, which had unintended consequences. That is the responsibility.
From Okeechobee and stuff, yeah.
Right, correct. And that is the responsibility of the Corps of Engineers. And then you have the quality of the water, the cleanliness of the water. So our state took that responsibility from the EPA. We asked that we would be the ones that had control over the cleanliness of the water, setting the standards, making sure we meet the standards.
Okay.
And so it's actually not at this time, because Florida State took their, and if you're somebody who believes in government minimalism and you want, most Republicans you would think would be on board with that and would want the state to be the ones that would have control over that. So, in theory, that's a good thing, but then it's not, as a federal representative, right? Then that issue really is for our state. The part that a federal representative has to play is the money. So some people may or may not be aware that in 2000, SURP, Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, was approved by the U.S. Congress. And under that plan, the federal government was supposed to fund 50% of that plan. And that's what we see the Corps of Engineers doing as they're trying to reroute this water and build the reservoirs and the stormwater treatment facilities. The federal government was supposed to foot 50% of that bill. This is 20 years and counting. They never came up with that money. So a federal representative should really be going in there and doing what needs to be done to bring home the money so that they can do their job. And so, the water issue is much bigger than that. But speaking as somebody that wants to represent the people on a federal level, that's what I see my role as being. Beyond that, as a Floridian, I want to understand how we can work with our state to make sure that our water is cleaner, because it's part of what you're saying is accurate with pesticides, agriculture, but there's also sewer septic issues that run from the top of the state down that can have a huge impact. And some people would say that that is the majority of the issue, but it's not the only issue. I mean, there's numerous issues,
Big sugar as well.
Well, so actually that is a misconception. So this is a good.
You're a Republican. I mean, you have to be for a big business, right?
Well, no, I'm for agriculture and the people. State. It's not what I have to be for. It's that I actually did the research. I actually spoke with U.S. Sugar and others to confirm so that I can give accurate information. The water that leaves their property by law is cleaner and has to be cleaner than when it entered their property. So when 90% of U.S. Sugar's farmland is south of Lake Okeechobee, so they actually get the whatever contaminants are coming in, they're getting that water, and then when it leaves, it's cleaner because of all the rules and regulations that that are already in place, and they follow those rules and regulations. So there's actually a misconception, that they are a contributing factor when. If they are at all, they're not a major player. But that again has been highly politicized, along with throwing some of our federal agencies under the bus publicly because it plays well. It looks good. It looks like, oh, I'm fighting against sugar. I'm fighting against the Corps of Engineers, and I'm doing something for the people. Meanwhile, clean water issue is very much a state issue. And our federal reps would, do well to fight for the money from the federal government and then focus on other issues that are actually in their jurisdiction as a federal representative.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
Yes. All right. So is there anything else? Is there anything else we could talk about? This is a nice conversation. I think this is great. Melissa Martz for Congress, CD18. You can go to melissamartz.com. Right?
Yes.
And there you could donate. Is that right? Probably?
Yes, of course, you can donate money, but I'm also really asking for in-kind donations because I think that's another part of our system that's broken and disgusting, that we're supposed to ask potential constituents for money to have a chance to represent them. So, if people can donate, if they can donate some marketing space on their car and put a car magnet on their car for the campaign, just as helpful. So anything that people can do, I'm appreciative of.
Yeah, that's right. I thank you so much for coming down. I would say this to everybody, though. Please, everybody, like and share this, okay? Please fight against the big tech censorship and go ahead and post this on Facebook. That's the major purveyor of all this. And, there's a 20-year-old nerd sitting in the back of Google, he learned how to code while living in his mommy's basement, and he's deciding who wins or loses in life. So we have to fight against that. Don't let that happen. Right?
Yes.
And please share this. And go out. If you want to get into politics and stuff and you live in this area, if you live in Florida, check out Melissa Martz, or even if you like what she does, donate to her campaign. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you. And I think it's been a really nice conversation, right?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was harmless, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Pickles, pop culture documentaries, conspiracy theories, sarcasm and fear. It's a conversation, start listening.
As soon as I upload it, I'll send it to you.
That's me.
Out of your boy.